Welcome to Forbidden Planet TV. I am Andrew Sumner, but more importantly, this is Andrew Cartmel. This is Ben Aaronovitch, the glorious creative team of the Rivers of London comics / graphic novel series. How are you both, gents?
I just want to say that Ben should stop worrying about his hair because mine's much worse.
No, your hair at least is short. Mine is beginning to look like a superannuated hippie who's just been dug out of a bunker. So
I think you're hitting both ends of the hair range quite well, and with Ben being so hirsute, I think it's a good counterpoint.
Only because my barber went out of business because of COVID, and now I'm stuffed. I just had him trained perfectly, so that just like he wouldn't talk to me, and he did the same haircut every single time. And now I've got another hairdresser who talks to me all the time and does really bad jobs with the hair, and I'm like,
oh.
Drat
that pandemic.
Yeah.
If I wasn't pissed off with the pandemic before, I am now.
Getting the right barber is key. You're not wrong, and it can be the work of decades to lock in on the right person.
Yes. If people aren't familiar with our writing process, I'm going to invoke the names of Jagger and Richards and Becker and Fagan, who are two great songwriting teams. And certainly Becker and Fagan used to do this thing where some songs were Becker and Fagan and some were Fagan and Becker. So this story is an Aaronovitch Cartmel story. So I'd love to take the credit for it because it's really good, but this is almost entirely Ben.
So this is Monday, and before we get into that, I just want to say you happen to have named two of my all-time favourite songwriters, Becker and Fagan, and we could do a whole hour on Steely Dan. And I went to see the other night a big band performing Steely Dan at Ronnie Scott's, and it was phenomenal. It was unbelievable.
What was the big band called?
Now it's two brothers. Now the Stacey Brothers big band project.
Send me the link.
Have you heard of those guys? If it comes back on, mate, we'll give you a shout if you want to come along with us. Because it was essentially it was 14 people on stage in Ronnie Scott's, essentially recreating the Steely Dan live experience.
Did you know that there was a Woody Herman album of Steely Dan numbers?
Do you know what, mate? I didn't, and I love that piece of trivia. I'm absolutely going to race to the back pole to find that out afterwards.
It's got a penguin in a Cadillac on the cover, and Becker and Fagan were all over it, like they were involved. So check it out.
Oh, 1000%, mate. That's what I'm going to do. Well, that is awesome. But enough of this aging music journalist conversation.
Can't we just talk about Steely Dan? I'm sorry.
I would love to.
You guys could go off as much as long as that. I'm just going to.
Sorry, Ben.
Time runs out.
But we are here to talk about Rivers of London, graphic novel volume 9, Monday, with a script by Ben and Andrew and beautiful artwork by Jose Maria Baroy, who also did
Jose.
Such a great artist, and he just did Titan's recent Phantom of the Opera graphic novel.
We don't want to hear about him being unfaithful with other people. We just want to hear about drawing for us.
We don't want him to be too successful because we don't want him to get too expensive.
Of course, so true. But he is a wonderful artist.
But it's worth saying here that we started out with a dream team back when we had Lee and Carlos. Was it?
Luis
Guerrero, the colorist. And then we lost Lee, and it's been a long, hard search for the new artist, and we're so pleased.
Yeah. He does wonderful work. I think so. You guys produce wonderful words. He produces wonderful art. It's a glorious combination.
But the thing is, he uses for real pencils. He's old school.
Yeah, right on.
And Andrew really likes that. I don't care, but Andrew
makes a big difference to the texture, and what he does in the roughs then bleeds through into.
All excited about real pencils. It's like vinyl.
Andrew understands this. It has an effect.
It's true. Yeah.
Vinyls and cats.
No, I'm a terrific fan of original artwork myself. It's a beautiful texturality to it. Actually, when you see it, I think you can always tell.
Yeah, so full marks to Titan for finding a good new artist for us, or rather, a suitable artist who's also really good, who is
because it's not just because there are other artists whose style just wouldn't suit Rivers of London. You need that kind of realistic style for
his feel is right. It's really great, and he gets behind the art in the sense that he understands what we're trying to do, and he's with us on it. He doesn't always nail it because he's not a Londoner, right?
Yeah.
But his spirit is in the right place for this comic. He kind of gets the comic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I remember living through the an era which I love, but the era of like mid 1970s British Marvel comics, and particularly ones that were originated for the UK, like Captain Britain. You have brilliant artists like Herb Trimpe on the book, but the London detail, even to me, sat reading it in Liverpool, was just appalling. And
The
it's like
street
Victorian
furniture.
policemen's costumes,
It
all that
gets
kind of stuff.
stronger.
Yeah,
Ben,
but
Ben did a tweet, was it once, about how it takes like 15 seconds
Yeah,
to research.
there's a very notorious sequence set in a British school in a Buffy comic, and literally they got everything from the cars being parked on the wrong side of the road. That obviously done no research. So I went to see how long it would take you to research these various elements. In fact, it took like 30 seconds to research the visual elements like police uniforms, police cars, police vans, British ambulances, and all the things that just and I just realized that they just didn't care. They just weren't thinking about it. But also the writing was at fault because someone gets speared by a British flag hanging in the school gym, and that's just like on a spike thing, and you just think, no, that doesn't happen in British schools. You don't have, you might possibly have a Union flag somewhere, but you wouldn't have it hanging on a spiky, thing that you could stab someone with. That's just like, and I just thought that's just really, really, really lazy.
One for the Tory party conference, perhaps. Sounds like a good idea to me.
yeah.
My pet peeve is yellow and black police tape. Right,
Yeah,
all book covers and book covers and everything. They're really fond of putting yellow and black things on the cover for police.
There was a murder on my estate not that long ago, and they used the blue and white police tape, but they'd run out. And they also used, I think, black and yellow.
Yeah,
or it might have been red. It might have been red and white, but what they
red and white. You see, I've become an expert on police tapes.
Okay.
So the standard police tape you're supposed to use is blue, white, and blue, right? That's Metropolitan Police use white and blue. If they run out, they use what the council use for measuring off like slipping things, which is yellow and black. That's why they use yellow and black on your one. The Germans use red and white, right? And the Dutch use red and white, but they make sure the Dutch crest is on the flag, so you make sure they know that they're not Germans. I haven't found out what the Belgians use yet.
There was also a forensic team there. I wondered if the forensic people have their own tape, but they don't.
Well, like the yellow and black is for hazards, as opposed to police keep out. So it's like yellow and black. This is you'll die if you step in this or something.
But they never use red and white.
Red and white, I don't know, mate. Maybe if they had a roll. I mean, they're not going to be precious about it.
If they had a roll, I had to think what he meant for a moment. Breakfast.
If they had a roll of but British police tape should be blue and white.
Can I just say, as a fan of the Rivers of London and a sycophant of the Rivers of London series, one thing that I love so much is the proper police research. And I've got to say, I've said this before, Ben was stony broke when he was writing those books, but he unhesitatingly paid hundreds of pounds to the Metropolitan Police to receive the official research. And he just thought it was worth it. I thought at the time, I kind of understand that, but my God, I would find it so hard to open my hands and release that money.
So, guys, how does that work? Do the Met literally have a department, a unit that will vet what you're writing?
You talk to the PR department and you say, I would like to speak to such and such a kind of police officer. And they arrange for you to have a 2-hour interview with them. What you're paying is the compensation for the 2 hours that they're not working.
That's brilliant. That is absolutely. You know what's been great about this conversation so far is, on the outside, a discussion about the colours of various types of international police tape should be boring, but in fact, it's very, very interesting. And that piece of information, I'm sure there's a ton of people listening to this conversation who just didn't know about that.
I never knew that. So basically, what Ben's saying is, you go in with a list of questions for your book, and you make sure you use your time well, which he did.
You have to put them up though.
What?
Yeah.
You have to slide in. I mean, they used to have a whole department that just handled copyright, but during austerity and the cuts, a lot of those frivolous departments got cut. So now it's down to like 3.5 PR people who right now are very busy and do not want to be disturbed. So what with what's going on at the moment? Well, there's always something, but
you don't talk to the PR person. They find an officer for you to talk to.
Yeah, you talk to the PR person. You explain what you want.
And then you pay for the officer that they find for you.
It's the same rate as what
Football matches.
Yeah, football matches. It's the same rate as what football companies or other major events pay for police or for police time. You're just basically paying for police time, except the kind of much smaller amount. But I haven't done that for a while because I'm.
Good title. Let's use that title at some point. Police time. It's a good title. I'm going to make a note of that. Police time.
And did you have to go and do that at New Scotland Yard? Is that where you
go to wherever the police officer is?
Oh, okay, all right. So, your guy in this instance, where was your police officer?
Oh no, in Monday, I didn't need a police.
No, but back when you did it.
Oh well, Belgravia.
Oh, wonderful.
I talked to someone at the Belgravia murder team, so I went down to Belgravia and we had a long chat, and then I went down to Southwark for Broken Homes.
Yeah.
Talked to not a family liaison officer, a local neighbourhood policing officer. So,
well, that's two poles apart. Policing experiences.
Well, this is why it's so useful, you see, because I think part of it happened because the PR people got really fed up with me asking them questions. See, but now, you see, once you get to a certain level of fame, like people will actually just give you this information.
They come to you.
They come to you, and so now I don't need to do that quite as much as I used to. Although, who knows? So what with the Metropolitan Police reorganising every 6 months, every so often you have to go in and refresh your knowledge of what it is, what you're doing.
This is one reason people love these books and comics, is because you've got this really well evoked supernatural world alongside this totally authentic police world.
Yeah, I agree, and I'm going somewhere with this, but I was thinking the other day, actually, with regard to this book specifically, one of the other examples I can think of a particular media property having really quite good London detail was American Werewolf in London, where I've always really liked the police detail in that movie and the way it was done. And it feels authentic, even if it's a riff on what it's really like. But speaking of werewolves in London, could you just give us a flavour of this werewolf-focused story that you have?
Well, before Ben answers, I've got to say that he's likely to explode because he feels the werewolf has been overemphasised in this story.
Yeah, I noticed that the werewolf kind of got a lot of coverage. The werewolf is the MacGuffin in this story.
It's in all the PR, that's why. It's in all the notes.
Yeah, I know.
In every synopsis, it's Swedish werewolf, Swedish werewolf.
When you go to cover artists and you go, you've got a werewolf, you have to beat off images of slavering beasts with a stick. And, I feel like the covers in this one are massively misleading.
You heard it here first, readers. It is not really about the werewolf.
It's not. But in fairness, it was years ago, probably about 3-4 years ago, Ben was on the phone to me. He's talking about, he had this idea about Swedish werewolf. And I must say, it was on the cover in my mind. So it's a great concept. And then this is the first time it's come into the canon, which is great. So what I'm saying, it's kind of understandable that people seize on that because it's such a great idea. But it is a minor detail in a terrific and very different story, and a very kind of police procedural heavy story, I'd say, Ben.
Well, it starts as a very police procedural because it's 4 different days, the day from 4 different perspectives. It starts with Stephanopoulos, so it's like an absolute total police procedural, kind of like with things happening off stage. Then you have Peter, so it's semi-police procedural, semi-magic. Then you have Nightingale, which is just mostly Nightingale nostalgia and magic. And then you go to Abigail and Foxglove, and it's just pure magic because they don't have procedure. What's that? We don't need your own stinking procedure. So, and that was quite deliberate, but also it was just like, I like the idea of peeling back layers. So it's not a Rashomon where you have like different perspectives and you try and work out which one is right. It is literally people who are pretty blissfully unaware that everybody else is doing something else behind them while they're doing it and just getting on with their lives, which is like basically what we do. And the werewolf just threads their way through this, and I can't really say more because that issue hasn't come out yet. The 4th issue hasn't come out yet, so I don't want to spoil that. But I like the werewolf, and I like the sort of like turning around our expectation of the werewolf as well. There is a whole mythology that I have devised behind this werewolf which you don't see in this.
That's what he was talking to me about years ago.
But there is a whole mythology that is slowly emerging as it becomes relevant to the stories.
And will it continue to emerge, guys? Sorry, Andrew, I didn't mean to talk about
Ben was at that stage, he was considering the possibility of a Peter Grant Goes to Sweden novel. And he was talking about how it would resonate with the standard Scandi kind of crime novels. And there was a werewolf. So, I mean, that was the original concept. It just goes to show how these things change, but also stay, because that werewolf never went away.
Yeah, well, the idea that Sweden has towns full of werewolves has never gone away.
I love it.
But the werewolves have a particular life cycle, which Peter and Nightingale don't really know about.
It's a very groovy life cycle. That was the thing that he sold me when in that telephone conversation.
A very groovy life cycle, and it will pair up. But I don't know when we're actually going to explicitly meet it. Possibly, you see.
Ooh, this is the fun of live Zoom.
Possibly we will meet it in. If I do another Toby and Vanny book. You see, then we might meet it. Or I might decide to do a full-on werewolf comic, rather than a kind of subtle werewolf comic. Or I don't know. I wasn't expecting the werewolf to be in this comic, so you know. I never really know sometimes whether something's going to be in or not be in a story until I'm about 2/3 of the way through the story, and then I go, oh, okay, werewolf story, fine.
Geezer's about to deliver radiators. So this is all taking place live on Zoom. We love it.
Fantastic.
They're really good radiators.
Last time around, it was a Cardo or one of those.
Oh my God.
Groceries last time. Yeah.
It's true.
Why
There we go.
Radiators.
Oh, there's one room in my house that everything's underfloor heating, but there's one room which is north facing, and that wall always gets cold. So I figured out 2 panel radiators, one under each window. Bob's your uncle.
Okay.
Nice. Okay. Makes sense.
It's cat. It's for the cat. It's not for him, by the way. That's why he has underfloor heating.
The underfloor heating is for the cat.
Cats can lie.
I'm allowed to use it.
Only as a secondary benefit.
It's true. As a boundary effect.
As a boundary effect, yes.
So Ben, what's in addition to Monday? What's next for Peter Grant?
Well, I've just literally finished the next Peter Grant book.
Yeah.
Which I will probably have delivered by the time this goes out. Okay, hopefully. No, we'll have.
Have I got the last chapter? Or is that the second last chapter?
That is the last chapter.
Oh, hooray. I'm so excited.
And it's entirely, I only have 20 chapters because it's entirely dictated by the spreadsheet that I do my chapters on. So therefore,
You've run out of spreadsheet. Well, that book better end.
There's no room for a chapter 21. So all books have to have at least a maximum of 20 chapters.
This book is called... The book whose name I dare not speak is really good.
I might just bleep you out on the book title, so we'll keep
this is because nowadays the publicity department wants to make a big thing about announcing the title, so they get very cross when I tell people before it's like announced. I mean, they didn't used to care. Like with the first 3 books, no one cared what the bloody name of the title was, but now it's like I've become a tentpole. And so therefore, they have to build it up as much as possible. I just sit there thinking, it's getting ridiculous. It's like teasers for teaser trailers. It's like just
absolutely, trailers for trailers. Yeah, trailers for trailers for sure. I get it. Sounds so. When's the next one going to be out? And
hopefully in March next year.
Oh, wonderful. Okay.
So that one is Peter dealing with a historical case, if you like. Or rather, something that goes all the way back to the Middle Ages that is impacting the present day, and stuff. But I can't really say anything without giving it away. So
of course.
Just to say that nobody will expect who the bad guys are in this. So
I think perhaps one of the great takeaways from this conversation, to loop back to Monday and the collected edition of Monday. Is that if you look at the Titan PR, and Ricky Claydon, head of Titan Comics, I'm talking to you, it's fundamentally misleading the audience. Yes, there is some lycanthrope activity in there, but it's not all it is about. So I think it's been a glorious conversational journey, just actually seeing more light and shadow about what you've done with the series.
I have now reconciled myself that my covers will never actually reflect the story. right? Because apart from anything else, you're doing like 4 variant covers, like, and you just can't, like, they can't all reflect the story because that's, otherwise it becomes very dull, right? So you have to have like variant covers. So you have to have various types of covers, and then it's like, you know, certain things float comic artist boats. So you know, busty women, guns, werewolves, these things kind of like that. This gets them excited.
All that good stuff.
All that good stuff, you know, terror, moonlight, things looming over city. All of these things like, oh, we'll have some of that, because they didn't become comic book artists to do kind of like, you know, boring stuff. Okay, so this, like, you know, Stephanopoulos lecturing a team for her team on how to go out and do policing. That is not the kind of thing that a cover artist wants to do a cover of, you know. So I've got used to the idea that covers are more an exaggerated thing. So
yeah,
there is some lycanthropy in the story, so I can promise that there's some of that.
May contain lycanthropy.
May contain lycanthropy, and that's very well said, and a great point to close on, gents. So this has been the one and only Ben Aaronovitch, the one and only Andrew Cartmel. I'm Andrew Sumner, and we've been talking about Rivers of London, Volume 9, Monday, published in a collected edition on November the 30th, and it is available for order at the links attached to our conversation. Gents, it is always a pleasure. You take care of yourselves, and I'll see you both soon.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
If you're enjoying watching Forbidden Planet TV and you're enjoying watching us talk to the world's most interesting and accomplished filmmakers, authors, artists, musicians, creators, subscribe right here. See you soon.